Said we would to deal with the pandemic that we find ourselves in our community. I'm just going to go through some of the things that we've passed here. We've directed staff to develop an action plan without delay to make sure that those facing economic hardship in our communities get the support they need. This includes considering repurposing underused facilities to shelter those who are homeless. We know that the congregation on Pandora is not the social distancing that Bonnie Henry has ordered, so staff will be looking at that. We have also have a whole bunch of advocacy motions passed to deal with renters, prohibiting evictions, things like that. The province has yet to take action, and we know that they're working hard on this, so this is adding our voice to some of the things we know they're working on to protect the most vulnerable people, and 60% of our community in Victoria right now are renters. Some of the things we asked for, the federal government has already passed those yesterday, so those were mostly motions of thanks. We also, with respect to council motion or council meetings, after today we'll continue in our committee of the whole meetings, but we are cancelling all public hearings until further notice. We want to make sure that we're respecting the open council principles. Council will continue to meet. We've changed, or in the process of changing our bylaw so that we can continue to meet online as necessary, should more restrictive things be put in place, so that council can't even come together. So that's bureaucratic probably and not that interesting to you. In terms of supports for business, we know that the business community in Victoria is really struggling. In the middle of our committee of the whole meeting, there were surveys coming in that had been done by the British Columbia Chamber of Commerce, and so we've directed staff to look at all possible options to support business, including removing late penalties for the payment of utility fees, looking at property tax deferrals, looking at anything that we can do within our powers to support business, and then also advocating to the provincial and federal governments for powers that we don't have. I just want to make sure I don't forget anything here, and then I'll go to your questions.
I'll have the full paper on this.
Yeah, we're just
email afterwards.
Yeah, so I think those are some of the highlights. I think the things to stress that we heard Council discuss this morning, real concern for what we can do with our limited fiscal powers to support our residents and our businesses. That was really the thrust of the discussions we had. We know businesses are particularly vulnerable, renters are particularly vulnerable, and the people congregating on Pandora are vulnerable. So the actions that we're going to be taking in the next few days, the immediate actions, are to work on the unsheltered situation at the same time as staff will be reporting back as soon as possible with respect to any other measures that we can put in place for our residents, for renters, and for business owners. I'm happy to take your questions.
Mayor, I'm just wondering what facilities you might be looking at to house some of the people. And I just drove down in front of our place, and the numbers are growing in front of our place. What are you looking at? Are you looking at more than one to accommodate all the numbers?
So the provincial government thankfully has declared a state of emergency, and we'll be working with them on the next steps. And in terms of, they could take any facility in the region that they wanted to put people inside. So we'll be working closely with them on that matter.
When you say, sorry, could you when you say state of emergency has been, does that mean that they could possibly forcibly put people into care where they will have shelter and be social distanced?
So hold on a sec. No, you can't. We're just keeping social distances. I'll talk to you afterwards.
This is a news conference.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I am a homeless person, and I'd like to know what you guys are doing.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, but I am a homeless person, and I am being shut out and not being allowed to be in my homeless shelter. I'm not being allowed to get food. I have to have bag lunches. I'm not allowed to be anywhere.
Absolutely.
And I'm not getting health care.
Yeah.
So what are you doing to help me as a homeless person?
So if I can answer that question.
Thank you.
Yes. So what we're doing to help this woman and other people who are without homes is working with Island Health, BC Housing, the Coalition to End Homelessness, and the provincial government to have a plan in place for exactly the situation that this woman is speaking about. We need people to have health care, we need people to have food, and we need people to not be all congregated in one place. So we are working as hard as possible and these things obviously take time in the best of times. We're working as hard as possible within 48 hours. We would love to have something to share with with all of you and to have something in place by the end of tomorrow. Those are Herculean measures to get that in place, but this woman is absolutely right. People need access to healthcare, people need access to shelter, and we're doing everything we can as quickly as we can. And in fact, I've got to hop on a 2 o'clock phone call right now to make sure that this plan continues. So absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're
Where
welcome.
can we put them? I mean, as you said, you can't just wave a magic wand.
Well, actually, the emergency powers that the province has pretty much is like waving a magic wand. They can commandeer any facility that they choose for whatever purpose, and so we'll be working with the province very carefully on that.
And Mayor, what do you think? Our newsroom received an email from a renter who received notice that recognizing COVID-19, but the landlord, the company, wants its regular paychecks, rent checks. Right?
Yeah, so I know that Minister Robinson is very well aware of these issues. It is fully within the province's purview to take action with respect to renters, and I know that she and her team are working very hard on this issue as we speak.
And what do you, just, as this crisis unfolds, what are you hearing at City Hall from people?
Well, City Hall's closed, so we're hearing.
Well,
Yeah.
you're getting emails.
Yeah, we are hearing concern from renters, we're hearing concern from businesses, we're hearing concern about daycare. I mean, we're hearing all of the concerns that you would imagine people have, and it's understandable. This is a very, very worrying time for people. It's a worrying time for people who have to go to work. It's a worrying time for people who can't go to work. It's a worrying time for seniors. So what we're doing here at City Hall, again, working very closely with our partners at the provincial and federal governments, but particularly the province, is to try and move as quickly as possible to put measures in place to take some of the worry and some of the fear away from people, because I know it's really, really hard, and I wish I could offer more comfort, but it's going to take some time to get through these really difficult times, and the only way we're going to do it is by working together.
And are you liking what you're hearing from the Prime Minister, from the Premier, all of the announcements that are
Absolutely. I think the federal government is doing a fantastic job. They're moving as quickly as they can, and they've committed over and over again, not just the Prime Minister, but everybody, to doing everything they can to help Canadians through this crisis. And I trust that, and we're seeing day by day as the Prime Minister comes out and addresses Canadians that he's committed to that. John Horgan has been doing the same thing. We are waiting for more measures from the province, and hopefully those will roll out soon. Okay, good. Got to go on the phone call to help keep moving things forward. And we'll send a list of everything that we passed.
Yeah, I'll have a release going out. We're just finalizing something. Yep.
I do want to talk to you, but it's really important that you stay back, right?
No, I understand. I was just wanting that gentleman's card.
Oh,
Can I ask you something? Or proceed.
I'm going to ask you.
Sorry, Chris.
I don't have a very good light.